My doctors and my nurses told me from now on, since you got this diagnosis, do not get on the internet. Don't Google nothing. Don't get on there at all. I used to see my grandmother or my mother shout. I used to see them crying. I used to see them. And I'm like, what's wrong with them? I don't. Hey, during that time, I didn't pay a lot of attention to just the scriptures. I just read them, not knowing this is the things that's about to prepare you later on in life that you don't even know what's about to happen to you. And I said that because the faith part of it and the family part of it, I had to think back to those days. I had to really think back to those days. Like this is where your faith is about to really get tested, and you need to go back to your foundation.
Welcome back to the Legacy Talk 3N. I'm so happy that you've tuned in to join us today. And today's episode is one that reminds us that strength doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes it wears a survivor's smile. Today, my guest is the Honorable Mayor of Lithonia, Shamika Reynolds. She's a woman who stepped into public office ready to lead, only to be faced with one of life's most challenging struggles, a breast cancer diagnosis. Yet even in the storm, she continued to lead with grace. She continued to lead with courage, and she continued to lead with strength. And in our conversation, we'll talk about what it looks like to carry the weight of leadership. I'm so excited about our conversation today. While fighting for your life, fighting for your health, fighting to stay on the road to destiny. She's going to share with us how faith and family sustained her and how the lessons she learned about purpose, about balance, and about healing all work hand in hand and have actually worked for her good. This isn't a story about politics. It's a story about perseverance. It's a story about power and the heart of a woman who absolutely has refused to give up. So we're going to delve right into the conversation. Welcome, Mayor Reynolds. I'm so glad to just be in her company, have made her acquaintance. And we are getting ready to just have some real talk, some girl talk today. And we are going to start with your journey to leadership. But before we delve into that, we want to talk a little bit about not just your health journey, but can you share for the viewing audience what initially inspired you to step into public service and to eventually become the illustrious mayor of Lithonia, Georgia?
Thank you. All right. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Honestly, there was a older lady actually that was very close to my family. She was like an aunt to me. Her name was Barbara Lester. She has passed away, very close to our family, and she kept seeing me. She kept seeing me into the funeral service. My family owns a funeral home, which is Tri-Cities Funeral Home. And one day she came for a viewing, and as she walked out, she said, "Little girl." I said, "Yes, ma'am." She always called me little girl. Little girl, I said, "Yes, ma'am. Come here." And I said, "Yes, Miss Lester, what's going on?" She said, "Have you ever thought about running for city council in the city of Lithonia?" I said, "No, ma'am, I'm not a politician. I don't want to get into that because during that time, it was a lot of things going on in the news about politicians, and not only that, but in my city." Things of that nature that I wasn't really happy about. But long story short, she asked me every time she saw me about running for city council. So I thought about it. I prayed about it. I said, Then I started, speaking to my family, my fiance that I had at the time about it as well. And, everybody said it would be a good fit for you, and we can see you doing it because you have a heart for people. You have a heart for serving. So I went ahead and ran, and I won. got all the votes in the city of Lithonia. And just mind you, of course, they already knew me because of the funeral home there in the city. So it was like a no-brainer. And I was so happy because I was afraid that I would lose. But ever since then, I kept running. I went to my second term, did the same thing, and I served 8 years as a city council member in Lithonia. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful
Yeah.
beginning.
Yes.
Well, there was a sudden shift
Mm-hmm.
almost immediately after you
Right.
took on this new role as mayor, and that was when you received your breast cancer diagnosis. Can you take us back to that moment and
Yes.
what actually, that very moment, what went through your mind? What led up to it and what
Led
went
up,
through your mind?
yes. So long story short, 2020 was the year that I was sworn in as the mayor of the city of Lithonia. 2020 was also the birth of COVID, or 2019 actually. So I was dealing with a lot during that time because a lot of us, you already know, we were scrambling basically. And I was a new mayor, didn't have any idea what to do, when to do it, how to do it. So I was already, shaking. I was like, I have this new position and here we are. We don't know what's going to happen, tomorrow. So long story short, 2020 came, we got through that. 21, still going through it. And the diagnosis actually came in 23, honestly. I was at home, did my norm, wake up, trying to get to work, trying to get to City Hall, things of that nature. And I had small pain. It was kind of sharp, but it was nothing that I was like really worried about. Because I remember in my high school years, it was maybe 11th grade, I had a benign tumor that was taken out, and no big deal. They said, oh, don't worry about it, whatever. So I did my norm checkups, went to my mammograms like I supposed to at a 40-year-old person, young female. But this particular year, they saw something small, but they didn't do anything about it. It didn't hurt or anything like that. Oh, Shamika, it's okay. You don't have to worry about it. I said, so I asked the doctor, I said, so you're just going to wait till it grow? And they couldn't really answer that question. Well, it's too small to deal with. Don't worry about it. So when I woke up, first thing was on my mind, did it come back? I'm not going to worry about it. Nah, I ain't nothing. But it was painful. So long story short, I called the doctor during this time. I will never forget it. It was December 26, 2023. There was a day after Christmas. And I'm trying to get to the funeral home because I think we had a viewing or something going on. So I called him and I said, this pain in my breast, it hurts, but I remember you all telling me, don't worry about it, it's small, whatever. And they told me, well, right now, it's the holiday, we can't see you at this time, so just call us back, if it gets worse or whatever. And then they give you this thing, do you have pain from 1 to 10? Let me know what it is, all that kind of stuff, right? So the pain kept coming, and it was just real painful the next 2 to 3 days. Call them back to tell them. So they finally prescribed me something for pain. So I had to wait from December 26th to January 10th to actually see a doctor. Yeah. So during that time, they still had to do the biopsy. They still had to do another mammogram. They still had to do all these tests trying to figure out what's wrong. But all that time I was on pain medicine. So during the month of January, towards the end of January, that's when I found out my diagnosis, what they found, and it was stage 3 breast cancer. So I I hate to say it this way. I grew up in a church. I love God. I swear I do. But at the end of the day, I felt like that was it. That was it. I know by his stripes you are healed. I know all of that. I know those scriptures. I know all of that. But at the end of the day, when your body is in it, it's totally different. Totally different. You can say everything, quote any scripture you want to say. But at the end of the day, I just felt like this might be it.
The fear
the fear of it. Right.
overrode the faith.
Right. And then not only that, being a licensed funeral director and embalmer in funeral service, I see death certificates every day. I see death certificates, breast cancer stage 2, breast cancer stage 3, breast cancer stage 4, high blood pressure, everything that you can see that people go through every day, I see it on death certificates. So in my mind, I said, okay, what's about to happen? I got to figure this thing out. So I went to my mother and father first, because that's why I'm here. And I'm grateful for both of them. And I called them to my home. I sat them down and I talked to them and I told them, excuse me, about the diagnosis. My mother, I don't know if it weren't for her, I laughed because her faith is so strong. She was like, you remember you beat the girl that was running against you as mayor, right? You went through that. You beat COVID. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you about to beat this too. Everything that you put your hands on, you always have the victory. So don't think this is a death sentence for you. It's not. It's not. And she just kept drilling me every day, every day, every day. And I was like, how do she know? How do you know? You never been through this.
Mm-hmm.
And then my dad, totally different. He was a wreck. So he I mean, he cried. I mean, he was worried every day. He never liked doctors at all. So it was just, it was a lot. It was a
Mm-hmm.
whole lot dealing with that. So um that's it in a nutshell in the beginning of it.
Right.
But yeah, I'll tell you more.
Oh, look forward to the more. And
Yeah.
as you were speaking, I wanted to just say to all women, it's important not only to know
Right.
your body, but to do your regular checkups with the
Yes.
doctor. Because I was listening to what you, to the all of the facts that you were giving, and it reminded me of years ago. My doctor told me with lumps in your breast, he said you should be more concerned if there's a lump and you don't feel pain.
Wow.
But what you felt and what you endured was the
That's
opposite.
totally
It was
opposite.
the pain
Nope.
that made
That's
you
it.
aware that something was going on. So it tells you that everybody's story is different. So
Different.
it
Right.
also tells you that it's very important that we not only do our own checks, but no matter what you feel, if there's something that you know is abnormal, go
Right.
get it checked out.
Exactly.
Yeah, the sooner the better.
Exactly.
Balancing the call and the challenge. Tell me this: how did you manage the emotional and the physical demands of breast cancer, while also serving the city and the community? How did you manage that?
Wow. Now that I I I hope I don't start crying.
It's
So,
okay. We got
long
we got to
story
clean
short,
up.
long story short, when you delegate and it seems like, and this goes for the city of Lithonia and my business, the funeral home, right? God had already was putting people in place before I was diagnosed. And I was hesitant about, should we do this or should we do that? Should I put him in this position? And all of that, it just played a part in it. And I didn't realize what he was doing until after I was diagnosed. So I said that because by that happening, it was already everything was in position. When I tell you I was in my bed, sick, couldn't get out the bed, couldn't walk, 4 blood transfusions, um, a blood clot like in my lungs, 3 of them. I dealt with all that in my bed. Do you think I worried about the city of Lithonia or Tri-Cities Funeral Home? I couldn't. I couldn't. And the reason why I couldn't was because the people that I had in place already stepped up and did everything that was needed to be done. I didn't even have to be there. It was so, I laid there sometimes and I said, wait a minute, they can do this without me. I want to go see what they're doing. So at the end of the day, the emotion was, I was happy, but then I was like sad because I couldn't be there and I couldn't see. I wanted to make sure the families was happy. I wanted to make sure the public was happy, the constituents was happy. Everything is okay. Are we still doing the plans that we had during COVID? Are we paving the street? Are we getting the sidewalk done? What are we doing? So the emotions was crazy because I was all over the place. I would cry. I would laugh about certain things. People will call me and say, Shamika, I'm just letting you know, or Mary, I'm just letting you know. So I appreciated those persons that reached out to me just to keep me in the loop. But at the end of the day, when you fighting for your life, nothing mattered. I have two sons. One is 26 now and one is 16 now. The pain that I saw them go through was I I didn't know. You know, I knew my children loved me, but to see the baby really really worried, and he came into my room one day and he was like, I want to ask you something. I said, what is it? His name is Miles. I said, what is it? He said, do you have to take chemo? I said, what's chemo? I said, oh, chemo. I said, what you know about, chemo? And so he was like, I've been on the internet trying to figure out what's going on with you because ain't nobody telling me nothing. I said, oh my God. So, yeah. So I had to explain to him about the situation. I mean, and I had to make sure that he understood that I'm not going anywhere because I know what he was looking at. It was, a very scary, time for him to even read what it is. And my doctors and my nurses told me from now on, since you got this diagnosis, do not get on the internet. Don't Google nothing. Don't get on there at all. At all. So,
because everything tells you you're going to die.
yes. So the emotion, the stress of it, and just balancing everything, life, family, the city, the funeral home, it was a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But even through chemo, you
Chemo,
are beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Well, let's shift a little bit to the leadership, the human side of leadership. So many people see mayors just as strong public figures, but few see the private battles. What was the hardest part of showing up for others when you were personally hurting so bad?
Exactly. So is this during my diagnosis or before or after?
Both.
Because honestly, before, I have a life at the end of the day. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard because I have to think of a lot of times people, and even my family will tell me, Shamika, you got to take care of you first. But I don't have that mentality. I don't. I'm always worried about everybody else. I don't know where it came from. A lot of people say you got that from your grandma. Your grandma was like that. But I always put people before me. And it's kind of a curse, I guess. But I'm trying to work on that still.
So even after diagnosis?
Even after that, when I was diagnosed, that's when I knew God was saying, you know what? If you not going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm about to sit you down because you're doing too much. And that's what I honestly felt. I honestly felt that too after the fact. So now, after the diagnosis, I'm putting me more. I ain't got there yet. I ain't there yet. But I'm putting me more, trying to make sure that, because I just feel like I don't want anybody to say, she was a bad mayor or she was a bad leader. She was a bad boss. Oh, I don't like working for her. I don't like that.
Well, let me say this to you, and I'm only a few years older than you, but let me say this to you. They're gonna say it either way.
I heard that too.
They're gonna say, and
regardless.
I said this in a previous episode.
Yeah.
That was about me. It was when I was being interviewed. That it's amazing how people can know you your entire life, and you can do 97% in their eyes.
In their eyes, right.
But they'll take that 5% and run your name through the mud as if the 95% didn't matter.
Didn't matter. You're
right.
And
when you're able to embrace that and know in your heart, because for everything we do, my challenge even in ministry is, what's the heart in which you said that? What's the heart behind the move you made? Because that's what matters. And if you know that you gave your all to Lithonia. You gave your all. You're in ministry.
Mm-hmm.
People may not call it that,
I
but what
do.
you do every day is
I call it
ministry. When you go
ministry.
to
Mm-hmm.
the funeral home, that's ministry.
Yes.
When you go to City Hall, that's ministry. When you walk up your neighborhood and people know who you are,
Mm-hmm.
and the fight that you've had and the
Mm-hmm.
light that is shining, that's ministry.
You're right.
So once you, and it's for me, when I watch women, it's a part of evolving,
Mm-hmm.
because I was just like you. I
Wow.
cared. I would go to bed over what they said
I
because it's not
know.
true.
I know.
It's not true. And I would
Uh-huh.
spend so much energy
Yep.
trying to convince people. Some people are just drawn to
Mm-hmm.
negativism.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get over that, when you get past that, and the fact that you're still that way after the
Yes.
diagnosis is very interesting,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes it takes a diagnosis, or it takes loss,
Right.
or it takes just something traumatic
Mm-hmm.
for us to begin to evolve. But I can promise you, now that you're evolving into another decade of life very soon,
Yes.
things will begin to change, because a lot of it comes with the maturity and the evolving of women. And so you're not not just because of your diagnosis, you're
Mm-hmm.
not the same Shamika you were in your 30s, because so much growth, so
Mm-hmm.
much experience, so much overcoming has
Right.
come from 30 to 40. You're
Exactly.
not this, you weren't the same at 30 that you were at 20,
Mm-hmm.
between 20 and 30. So some of these things that you're longing for and praying for yourself, to
Right.
the ability to be able to serve but take care of myself. So it often, these comments remind me of, and I've said this in a previous session as well, episode. I remember when my husband and I took the reins to leadership, the very first thing I told the people that we serve is it's very important to me to make sure that while I'm taking care and serving in ministry, while we're shepherding the members, while
Mm-hmm.
we are having people under our tutelage, it's very important to me that they understand I won't do it at the extent of losing my
Mm-hmm.
children. They have the same fight as your
Right.
children.
Right.
They'll make some of the same mistakes as your children.
Right.
And I want to be able to learn to not just call them PKs, but let their light shine in the way God needs it to shine, and
Mm-hmm.
not put more on them that they can bear, because they're just regular young people growing up like everybody
Right.
else. And my commitment to ministry can't come before my commitment to the two that God gave me to
Mm-hmm.
birth. So I
Right.
want to be able to do it hand in hand. And the one thing that makes me the proudest about the role that we have taken is whenever my children have gone through anything,
Mm-hmm.
I could always ask them what makes them happy, and they would tell me being at church.
Wow.
And when they told
Amazing.
me that, it allowed Keith and I
Mm-hmm.
to continue and know that we were called and chosen for this assignment. Because had they
Wow.
told me differently, I have to obey God, but then I would have to then go back to the drawing
Mm-hmm.
board and say, God, what has to change?
Mm-hmm.
What has to change? But they have always been able to say that they were happy as at church. So what does that say to me? That the same village we were helping to raise, the same village we were helping to minister to their hurts and their needs, were ministering to my
Mm-hmm.
children.
I love it.
And so that was big. So I say to you, those things that you need to balance out so that you can have a good work life
Mm-hmm.
ministry balance is coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming, because
I
I was the
got you.
same way. I care. I took on baggage. I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
some writing right now about excess baggage, you know.
That's
And
all
so
it
I took
is.
on some baggage that God didn't tell me to take on, and it was to
Exactly.
my detriment.
Exactly.
So it's coming.
I
And I
appreciate
haven't
that.
gone through what you've gone through, and
Mm-hmm.
it came. So I know it's going to come sooner than you
I
think.
appreciate
And
that.
sometimes God brings you the connections you need to
Exactly.
push you to that point.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so you talked a little bit about your sons, because
Yes.
I wanted to talk about family and faith, and you talked a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about that, and you can talk some more if you choose to do so. But I want to know, what role did your faith play for you and your loved ones
Mm-hmm.
through such a difficult season?
Oh, well, of course, I grew up in the Baptist church. My father, of course, I'm gonna give you a little history. My father and my mother met when they were, let me see, my mother was in the 8th grade, my father was in the 10th grade, and
In Lithonia?
in Lithonia,
Oh, wow.
my father and mother had a baby, which was me, when she was 16 years old. They went to Lithonia High School, same high school I went to as well. So when they got married, I think it was right after her 18th birthday or maybe almost 20. I can't remember. But she was raised in a Baptist church. He was raised in the AME church or what have you. So we were going like back and forth, back and forth. See, still same Christian ministry or what have you. But when I tell you, I used to be at church every day as a child. So as I grew up as a teenager, still in church every day. So when I come to your church, right? It reminds me, especially all the youth that you have in your church, it reminded me of the days when I was that age, because that's exactly how I was raised. A lot of times, of course, I was in the choir, I was in the youth people's, we call it YPD, youth people's department, things of that nature. It was always something to do, Bible study, Sunday school, Jam for Jesus, just a whole bunch of different events for us. But of course, during that time, I had the best life there was. I didn't know trials and tribulations. I didn't know nothing but get up, eat, go to school, go to church, and start all over again. That's all I did. That's all I did. So, with that being said, I used to see my grandmother or my mother shout. I used to see them crying. I used to see them, and I'm like, what's wrong with them? I don't, hey. So, during that time, I didn't pay a lot of attention to just the scriptures. I just read them, if that makes sense. Not knowing this is the things that's about to prepare you later on in life that you don't even know what's about to happen to you.
Absolutely.
So, and I said that because the faith part of it and the family part of it, I had to think back to those days. I had to really think back to those days. Like this is where your faith is about to really get tested, and you need to go back to your foundation. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Absolutely. So that's where those 3 F's that I always think about: that foundation, the faith, and not only that, of course, the fear of it too. Mm-hmm. Because I just knew then. Okay, you see how your mother already knew you healed. This is what you need to do. Mm-hmm. This is what faith is all about. Do you have it, Shamika? Are you going to agree to it? And I used to call, there was a gentleman that I was dating at that time while I was going through a lot as far as running for mayor and things of that nature. And I had reached out to him and I was telling him everything about what's going on with me. And he was telling me the same thing. Why are you worried? Why are you even over there crying? Suck that up. Mm-hmm. We're not crying today. We're not. You finna fight and you're gonna be okay. And I'm like, why is everybody telling me this?
They know how strong you are.
So I really had to stretch back and get the faith that I already knew that was in me. I just didn't know where it was. Mm-hmm. That's all. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, it was there.
Yeah, the whole time.
It was needed it to come to the surface. And I think that so many times, you can be rebuked from the standpoint of ministry or churches, right? But faith, fear is real. It's a real emotion. Yes. But that's when, again, you begin to know how strong your faith is, because you need something in order to survive, in order to overcome. You need something to override that fear. So, and obviously you did just that.
I did.
I wanted to talk about support system. Mm-hmm. And so we've talked about your mom. Mm-hmm. We've talked about your staff. Mm-hmm. We've talked about your children. Is there anyone else that had a big role in helping to carry you through and encourage you through your treatment?
Actually, I received a phone call. Actually, when I ran for mayor, I received a phone call from Pastor Jamal Bryant. And not knowing, I was trying to figure out, how did he get my number? But he reached out to me just to say congratulations, what have you, regarding me winning the seat or what have you. And I reminded him as well, like I grew up AME, he did too. And he was a pastor, youth pastor back then. And I used to love to hear him preach. And look where he is now. Absolutely. I love it. I love to see it. And when I was diagnosed, this is something that I'll never remember. Again, he was the first pastor to reach out to me. And I was trying to figure out, how did he know I was diagnosed with breast cancer? Mm-hmm. He called me on the phone. I had surgery the next day. He called me on the phone and he prayed over me and told me yet again, it ain't over for you. You got too much
Absolutely.
work to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not over for you. And it is stuck in my head through all my surgeries, all the chemo treatments, everything with the blood transfusions, the blood clots, everything. I just reminded myself of what he told me. And there was other pastors too as well. I had pastors to visit my home,
Mm-hmm.
praying over me just to make sure that I was okay. Just that one-on-one. Um, I had a whole village that was coming after me, and I was like, I can't believe, how do these people know me? But
Mm-hmm.
one thing my parents asked when I sat them down to let them know about the diagnosis, they asked me, was I gonna, be public about it? Am I private? Because you can be private about
Mm-hmm.
it, not say anything. I said, I need to let the people know what I'm going through because I need their prayers. And my mom looked at me, yeah, you need their prayers, but at the end of the day, you need to let them see the victory too,
Mm-hmm.
because you about to beat this. So
Yeah,
that's where
that
we
and
are.
because of the nature of your heart,
Yeah.
on so many levels, I can
Mm-hmm.
understand why you share the nature of your heart. So
Right.
when you're not outside in that public figure like you enjoy
Mm-hmm.
being,
Right.
they needed to know.
Right.
But the word does tell us that we're overcomers by the blood of the Lamb and the
Mm-hmm.
word of our testimony.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody needs your story.
Right.
Somebody needs your
Right.
story, and somebody strong and in a powerful position. And
Exactly.
so I just always look at the kingdom as this big puzzle,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's story matters.
Yes.
Everybody's story
Definitely.
completes the puzzle.
Definitely.
And so, with what you do in such a small community, you don't
Mm-hmm.
know how many people will overcome and will live because you chose to live.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, this is just the beginning.
Yes.
So, when we talk about leadership
Mm-hmm.
lessons, what did this experience? I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions, so
Okay.
I won't ask them all together. Same question, different words. What did this experience teach you about leadership and vulnerability?
Mm. Well, it taught me. You mean like the diagnosis of me going
Hmm.
through? Yeah. So I had to realize
And I
that
said leadership. So
leader.
think
Yeah.
about what you're called to do.
Yeah.
And I guess sort of you kind of just tapped into that when you said that, because when your mom asked the question, are you going to share it?
Yeah.
It took a certain level of vulnerability to let
Exactly.
people into
To
your
let
world.
people to exactly.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I was battling at first because I said, well, am I, letting people know way too much, about my personal life, but at the end of the day, just like you said, it's a small community and you never know who you're going to touch. And not only that, I thought about the people that was before me. The women that was before me that has already went through it.
Hmm.
They came out.
Like my mom.
They came out. And
Hmm.
I'm like, wait a minute, you had breast cancer too? Wait a minute, you had breast cancer? So I never knew. But it's
Hmm.
like a whole group of people. And there's another I forgot the name of it. What is it? Oh, Sisters by Choice. So Sisters by Choice is a foundation that came to me because my cousin passed away with breast cancer. While I'm burying her with breast cancer, I'm actually not at her funeral. As far as the director, they made me sit down because I was sick. But I was fighting as well. So that particular foundation that she was in grabbed me and took me under their wings and just let me know exactly what I needed to know during my journey trying to fight breast cancer. So I'm kind of grateful that I am in leadership because it was people that was all over the place trying to pull me in and get me where I need to be so I can continue to lead.
Which took
So yeah,
vulnerability.
exactly. And then I had to understand like everybody is not bad. Everybody,
Hmm.
it's some good
Good
people in
people
this world.
left.
Yes.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times being in leadership, they try to keep you away. Just like I'm gonna give you an example. Just like today, I came alone. I don't supposed to be here alone, but I said today I wanted to come by myself, and I wanted to be me. I wanted to tell you the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And here I am. So yeah.
I was thinking, as you were speaking, don't make me cry either. We'll be in here wiping our faces. You remember that you had two I think, 2 appointments to come and read the
Yep,
proclamation that you were
proclamation.
actually bringing.
Yes.
They both fell through.
Yes.
No biggie.
Mm-hmm.
But it was actually divinely orchestrated for you to come the Sunday you did. Because you stood, the young lady
I sure
was
did.
speaking.
And not only that, the fact that you didn't even hardly know all that you supposed to had known during that time, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was, yes, it was. And then you came to me and prayed over me. I remember just about everything that you said in my ear, and I needed that that day.
And I remember nothing.
That day. That day, I needed all of that. I was going through a lot that day. So you're right.
Absolutely.
You're right. You're right.
Absolutely. And for the viewing audience, she came to read a proclamation to our founder and overseer, who
Right.
happens to be my mom. But the day she was there, we were able to salute her as well because it was a Worship in Pink Sunday.
Right.
So there stood my mom in her at 87. Her cancer diagnosis was in her 70s. And then there stood the young lady who was mid-40s, and Shamika, who is in her 40s with diagnosis, and both of them are very powerful, beautiful, strong women. And I just believe in divine.
That's true. You're right.
Encounters.
Yeah.
And that's what now I know it was God's will for the other ones to fall through.
And
you were supposed to be here.
And did you see I supposed to have left and I didn't leave?
Absolutely.
I couldn't.
Absolutely.
I was late.
Yeah.
I was late as usual, but hey, I could not leave until that lady was that young girl, young, powerful lady that stood there and told her whole story. I had to hear it. I had to.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those foundations that we're talking about, they will carry us through life.
Exactly.
So, with the question about vulnerability, I also wanted to ask, but I think you have hit on that. You may not have anything to add. I wanted to know how now you prioritize self-care. Have you made some changes that you can talk about?
Yes, I made some changes. I get emails every day, all day about you're invited here. We need you here. We need you there. Da da da. Text messages too. And when I told you about send it to me or send it to the city. So yeah, because it's a whole lot better. And that's part of my self-care because I understand that I can't go everywhere. And I used to think that I'm supposed to be here. Da, 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 da. I mean, this whole schedule of calendar, just stuff that I got to do. And right now, ever since, my illness, I pulled back from a lot of that. Even another mayor in another city, she said, you know what? I'm going to start being like you. I need to realize that I don't have to be at all these places. And that's what, I don't know why I thought that, but that puts a toll on your body. It does. You can't do everything and be everywhere for everybody. Yeah. At the end of the day, you need a day for you. You need to go get your hair done. You need a day to get your nails done and get a massage. Yeah, you need to do that. Oh, you one. Yes. You need to do all that. So I had to really realize putting stuff off, and then I've canceled so many hair appointments. Oh my God. Oh, I can't come today. I'm still at work. Oh, all this just stuff. I just need a day to be at home and do nothing. Absolutely. Just if I can just get one of those days a week, that'll be great. Sometimes that don't happen, but I've noticed my Mondays, just like today, is one of those days where it's kind of easy, that I'm very flexible to do what I need to do, what I want to do, basically. So self-care has been a top priority on my list. During the midst of me going through cancer or what have you, one of the girls that's a funeral director, she sent me some messages about a massage therapist that you can go to while you're going through cancer or after. I still go to that person. I think I'm going to set an appointment this week. So self-care is very, very important. And not only that, even though I'm healed, my body hurts. My body has went through a whole lot of trauma. And I hope I don't cry, but it's different.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally different. It's like it's something that you have to deal with. It's not something that you're going to get used to. I don't think because it reminds you of what you've been through. My legs hurt, my arms hurt. Um, Not really my head, but as far as my body is concerned, it hurts only on a daily basis. But I push and I keep pushing and it gets better. It gets better. So that's where we are.
Yeah, you said off topic that your cousin
Had it.
had it.
Mm-hmm.
How many years between you all?
So she is 6. She would have been maybe 67 now.
Okay.
Yeah, she was older cousin. And what's crazy is on her death certificate, she didn't even pass away from breast cancer. That was like one of those underlying conditions, right? She passed away from a heart attack. Ain't that something? Didn't at all pass away from breast cancer. It was a heart attack.
Yeah.
So, and she fought for 20 plus years.
Oh, wow.
So
some of these things are a reminder.
Yeah.
The nonprofit that I had, we had the one Saturday, and it was just a plethora of information, and all of it, the heart attacks, the high blood pressure I just went through last week. I don't have blood pressure issues, but I did last week, and it was bad.
Wow.
It's just a reminder that we have to do some prioritizing with self-care. And that's not just massages and getting our hair done. That's the way we eat.
The way we eat.
And just taking some things more serious. And I asked you about your cousin when you brought that up, because up until mom's diagnosis, we didn't have a history at all. My grandmother died with almost at 104 years old with almost no issues.
Wow.
But since then, we have a family history.
Okay.
And everybody was younger. Everybody was diagnosed in their 30s and 40s. Yes. That actually died from it. We had, a cousin to die from pancreatic and another cousin who had breast cancer. Actually, she wasn't there. She was there the Sunday after you, I think.
Okay.
But so we really have a history, and I think that it's important for those coming behind us in our generations and in our lineage to watch what's happening.
Right.
And we have the ability to break these cycles and to do something about it. So, that's why I asked.
Yes.
Tell me this, with your journey of healing and hope. What did it teach you? What did your journey of healing teach you spiritually? What did it teach you emotionally? What did it teach you physically? And I think, some of these questions, that I wanted to ask, you have already addressed, so if you feel like you have, it's okay. But if you think of something else, so mentally, physically, I think you have talked about it. I think you've talked about it in those terms, but what did it in a sentence or two, what has all of this taught you about balancing those things? What have you learned?
I've learned to watch what you intake. It could be a normal conversation that you have with somebody. You have to watch who you talk to. You have to watch what you put into your own spirit as well.
That's good.
The negativity, it could be something totally simple about somebody talking about somebody. If that's the case, remove yourself from it. You'll be surprised.
I agree.
You'll be surprised. It's very toxic. Very toxic. One thing that I do remember, he's a pastor as well and a singer. He reached out to me, and I forgot his name. That's another thing dealing with chemo. Like your memory, you could think of something and just go away. So I'm dealing with that too. But his name will come back to me later. But he made a phone call to me, and he stated to me, he said, "I'm gonna tell you something that I told my mother when she was diagnosed with cancer. It was a different kind of cancer, but he said, I asked her, Mom, you need to find out where that came from." And when he said that, I said, "What you mean find out where it came from?" And right there, I'm sitting here like, do he think somebody gave it to him? What is he saying? But long story short, my spirituality now is very different from where it was, because I was so caught up trying to make sure this got done, this person okay, this family okay, this lady down the street needs this, or whatever the case may be. The police need to get where they need to go. Somebody's calling my phone. I had to really, really understand. Be careful. Be careful.
Mm,
Be careful.
absolutely.
It's deeper than what you think it is.
Hmm.
Um, and I never knew that. So
Hmm.
I'm not gonna go into that, but it's deep.
I
Yeah.
completely concur
Yeah.
because out of the heart comes the issues of life. The
Mm-hmm.
scriptures tell us that,
Right.
but so many times we're ingesting. So when I talked
Yes.
about the evolvement as we get older, I think when
Mm-hmm.
we're younger, you just find yourself wanting to have a listening ear.
Right.
You know, you just want to be there.
Right.
And the same people who were bringing you stuff in
Right.
your 30s and
Oh
40s will
my
still be
God.
bringing in your
Oh my
50s.
God.
So that those things sometimes we ingest. So when you think
Yes.
about mentally and when you think about spiritually, sometimes we ingest things that weren't meant for us
Right.
to eat. So you
Mm-hmm.
can apply that to physical, you
Yes.
can apply that to mental,
Mm-hmm.
and you definitely can apply that to spiritual. So
Exactly.
sometimes I'm trying not to get churchy. I was working on a message,
Uh-huh.
excess baggage that I wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
if God says so, before the end of the year. This is a typical example of that.
Mm.
And so if you relate excess baggage to an airplane or when you're traveling,
Mm-hmm.
anytime you want to take more than is allowed,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to ingest more than is
I know
allowed,
where
there
you're
is a
going. I
cost
knew where you was
to pay.
going. That's it.
There is a reason why you have to pay when there's
That's it.
excess baggage.
That's it.
We got to learn how to dump some of that baggage off
Yes,
because I'm
ma'am.
a firm believer. Everyone I have a conversation with about terminal illnesses or struggles or
Mm.
battles with diseases, I always say, when you were diagnosed, were you under a tremendous amount of stress? And 100% of people say
Right.
yes. Because I feel like all of us are susceptible to something.
Yes.
We have things lying dormant. We have genes. And I am a believer that it's the stress that brings things
That's what it
up to the
is.
surface every time.
Every time.
Yes,
Every
you could have
time.
eaten the wrong things. Yes, you may not have a
Yes.
healthy lifestyle, but you made it up to now. What
Exactly.
is it that made that tip over?
Yeah.
So those are great lessons, and so much of it comes. That's why we have to live it out for people.
That's
We have
right.
to take stories like yours. We have to take some of the traumatic experiences and the crisis that people have overcome and lived through and share.
Mm-hmm.
This is what ministry is all about, not what we get at church. What we
That's
get at
true.
church is you go to the gas station, that's my theory,
Mm-hmm.
and get filled up to come
To
into the
come.
streets and to
Yes.
come on our jobs and our
Right.
neighborhoods.
Right.
That's where true ministry begins.
Right.
Now we're going to look at a perspective shift. After
Okay.
walking through such a personal storm, how has your perspective shifted? And see, these questions that I'm asking now, I feel like you've covered so many of them
Okay.
already. So you can just add to it if there's something to add. Because I was going to say, how have your perspective on life
Mm-hmm.
and on leadership, and we can add spirituality to that. How
Mm-hmm.
has it shifted, and do you feel like your purpose has changed anywhere in that
Definitely.
shift?
Oh my God. Purpose has totally changed because I'm more serious about it now.
Obviously.
I'm very serious about it now because now, you feel like, at first I felt like, oh, I got time.
Mm-hmm.
I got time to get this done. I got time. No, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I no, I don't. So now it has shifted tremendously. Whatever I'm dreaming about, whatever I want to see, I have to make it happen by any means necessary. We just had annexation on the ballot for the city of Lithonia. And when we reached out and with those constituents that stays in unincorporated Lithonia, they always told me, I want to vote for you, but I can't because I'm in incorporated Lithonia, and I need to figure out how can I get in the city. So, one thing about and I don't want to say us, but people as a whole, we don't understand how powerful it is to vote these days. I missed annexation. Oh, I said I'm sorry. We missed annexation by 5 votes. 5. Trying to bring everybody into the city to make them one and understand we're trying to keep Lithonia, so you won't be in a totally different ball game. But just like that, and I'm telling you that for a reason, even though it didn't pass and we missed it by 5 votes, the next time we get on the ballot, we're going to keep pushing, and we're going to push harder than we did this year. So that's why I know Everything right now is serious to me.
Absolutely.
Everything. Dealing with family, dealing with my job as a leader or what have you. I know a lot of things is going on right now with the government shutdown and things of that nature. But all I keep thinking about, I'm not even worried about it, even though, well, you don't have anything. You're not on snapping. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm talking about. We're going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be just fine because I already know who's in control.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't bother me. You can be where you are up there in Washington, fussing, arguing all you want to.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever's going to happen for us is going to happen regardless. And we're
Right.
going to be taken care of. So,
And if nothing else that you
yeah.
just said, even with talking about your purpose and perspective shifting,
Mm-hmm.
people need to know the power of a vote.
Yes.
And hopefully with what's
Yes.
going on now,
Mm-hmm.
they
They
will
get it now.
realize it. So many people have
Mhm.
said to me, I know I voted wrong. Well,
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind.
Time.
Next time.
You know, it makes the difference and your voice counts.
Yes.
Your vote counts.
Definitely.
So I definitely get that. I was thinking as you were talking about realizing now that time waits for nobody. I told a young person recently, time is leaving you. Now, what I need for you to do is catch up with time.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
not too late. I just need you to run and
Right.
catch up with all of those things that
Right.
you've been commissioned to do. It's not too late.
Right.
But now you have to run.
Right.
I said Sunday, Martin Luther King said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. Whatever you do, keep moving.
Keep moving.
And so if we can get people to remember that when it's time to
Yes.
vote, to remember the dreams and visions of people we know who went to the grave.
Exactly. Exactly.
I did a message in the last eulogy I did in Lithonia at the funeral home around the corner from where your funeral home is. It was a message years ago, but I did it at the last eulogy I did there, and it was, your life is but a vapor, here today, gone tomorrow.
That's it.
And even for that, when people think about that scripture, it may not be a physical here today, gone tomorrow, but it can be that opportunity that you had to run for mayor. It can be that opportunity you had to say yes to ministry.
Yes.
It can be the opportunity you had to make a decision in your life that could be life-changing for somebody else. So I get it.
Totally. And when you you just brought up ministry and it just made me think about it. I'll never forget this particular, it just came in my mind. I went to Zaxby's. I go to Zaxby's a lot. I like the salad, right? So long story short, I go through the drive-through and get a phone call from she doesn't live in Lithonia, but her family is from Lithonia. And she said, Shamika, I had a dream about you. And I said, this was before cancer. It just came to my mind for some reason. And she said, you know what? You're going to have a women's ministry. And I said, I call her Star. I said, Star, what are you talking about? A women's ministry? And I'm listening to my music or what have you. And I'm just like, and I said, let me turn the music down. I said, what was the dream about? And she said, I don't know why I had a dream about you, but you are going to be powerful. You will have a women's ministry. You're going to have so many women following you and just trying to get encouragement from the way that you move, the way that you speak, and all the things that you go through. And I was like, I'm not going through that. I'm fine. I'm perfect. Ain't nothing. It's before cancer, right? Right. So it just made me think of that day for some reason while I'm sitting here. I just had to say that publicly.
Purpose.
Right.
You know, my brother spoke at our church just recently, and the statement that he made that resonated with so many of us that people have repeated over and over again is life leaves clues. Life leaves clues. So for many of us, we can look at where we came from, what happened the first 25 years of our life, and look at where we are now. We could see the dots being connected, even through the pain, even through the struggle and the hardship. You can see what you're being prepared for.
Right. And one other thing I want to get real personal about is the fact that when I was going through what I was going through, you know, I'm not married. I don't have a boyfriend, all of that kind of stuff. So while I was going through that, I thought to myself, do I want to die alone? Oh my God, what are we doing, Shamika? What are we doing? But I have a schedule, and I'm just going to be honest with you. I was dating a guy, and he told me, he said, is it any way possible you can cut your phone off like after 5 o'clock so I can get some attention from you? You know what I said?
No.
No, that didn't last long.
Mhm.
A lot of people, men, I'm just saying, they don't understand your journey sometimes. So
Mhm.
when I go to my class reunions, everybody see me. They, and I don't want to say I hear the whispers, but I've heard women that I went to school with. Can you believe she not married yet? And I'm like, can you believe I'm okay? Are you
Mhm.
okay? It don't
Right.
bother me, but it's bothering you.
Right.
You okay?
Right.
So I just had to really, really say that. But when I went through what I went through, that's when I started thinking that I
Mhm.
don't mind. I'm saying thinking like, okay, Lord, do I need to have a man, or is it that serious? But I don't know. I'm
But
just
it's
waiting
your
on God.
choice. I was
Yeah, I'm waiting on God.
listening to something
Yeah.
this week where Paul talked about the um, gift of singleness
Mm.
and how some people have it. And when I've used that with our young ladies in the ministry, they're like, I don't want that gift, God. I don't want the gift of singleness. But I just feel like God would give you the desires of your heart. It's,
Right.
Scripture says if you delight yourself in
That's
Him,
true.
because they people forget that part.
That's true.
And you have delighted on so many levels.
Yeah.
And it just, you decide in this season of evolvement what Shamika wants.
Right.
That obviously came to your mind. Do I want to
Yeah.
spend the next half century of my life alone, or do
Or
I
do
want
I want?
somebody? Because it does call for sacrifice.
Yes.
It
Yes.
does call it calls for learning to balance in a different
Right.
way, but that still should be based on the desires of your heart.
Right. Right.
And maybe in the season that things didn't work out, it was because God needed you for the first half century
Yes.
to get you to this point.
Exactly.
Because as you start the second half of the century, there's a different level of maturity and understanding that comes where God would give you strategic ways to do the things. And that's
Right.
been my prayer. I too, with a husband of 35 years,
Wow.
I have
Love
been
it.
so overwhelmed.
I
And
understand.
I've just asked God, you give me
Yeah.
strategy.
Right.
My cohort that's here helping me today, I'm overwhelmed, but I know the things that
Right.
He's given me to do. So I'm just asking for divine strategy. And if you decide I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there to take on a husband, then God will give you strategic ways to be
Right.
able to meet the needs of being a wife,
Right.
a mother, a mayor,
Right.
a minister in your own right.
Right.
You
I
know.
get it.
So he'll bring it to you in due season.
Yeah.
Our young adults just did a study on seasons. So they talked about the winter season and the fall season and the autumn season, the winter, the summer and the spring season. But then they got to due season.
Wow.
And your due season is at hand.
Yes.
But what are the desires of your
Exactly.
heart? You tell God about them and don't worry about what people are thinking,
Of
because
course.
everything is right in His time.
Always.
Yeah, I've learned that.
Always.
I have been married. I just stated the 35 years, but I know probably if I had not not probably, had not I gotten married, destiny would not have brought us to the place that we are now. So I could have been one of those who is completely outside of the will of God
Right.
at 20 years old and not made destiny. It's still, I told a lot of people it's never too late to be great.
Never.
But the way God intended it to be, it would not have led up to this point had not I been in that place. Your story is different. You had to do all of these great things
Yes, ma'am.
in the last 20, 25 years. So if that ends up being your desire, I know He's going to grant it.
Of course.
I believe that
I
with
believe
every
it too.
fiber of my being. So we're about wrapping up. Let's talk about a message to women. What message would you have for those, especially the women in leadership who may be facing silent battles? Your battle started off silent, of course, because you
Right.
had to go through a diagnosis and actually embracing what was going on for yourself and share with your family. And then it became public. But what about those women who are not in a place where they have a village where they can share their battles? What message would you give to women who are having, especially in leadership, those silent battles?
Right. Only thing that I can say is God. Seek Him. Find out who He really is if you don't know.
Mhm.
That's where that's the only thing that I can think of. I can't depend on man. I can't depend on my
Absolutely.
mother. I can't depend on my father. But when I go to the throne of prayer and just understand that when you have that relationship with him and someone that can really understand what you're going through, that's what you need in your life. It's all God. It's everything all God. That's all it
Absolutely.
is. And I know,
Absolutely.
everybody has their own. Some people may not believe in certain things, but at the end of the day, we're all believing in that one God. It is what it is. I don't care what his name is for you at all. It's the same to me. It's the
Absolutely.
same.
The God of our universe.
Yes, definitely.
I completely agree. With
That's where
anytime
it
if people
is.
talk about my grandmother living to be 104, my mom and my
Yeah.
aunts, because all of her sons have been deceased. But what do you attribute to where they are? I said righteous living.
Mm,
And the only way you can righteous living is nothing but living right. And the only way you can live right is to obey the laws of God.
exactly.
And that's where the faith comes in. That's where the foundation comes in, period. And
Exactly.
it's for many of us, at times it can be a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, that's all we have to lean and
That's
depend
all
on.
we have.
When everything else, I want anybody listening today, when everything else in life fails you, your faith will never fail you.
That's it.
Period.
That's it.
So I get it. You talked about your team, you talked about your family, and I think you've already answered, because I wanted to say, I don't know if you have any doctors or nurses or special friends. Is there a memory from anybody or a particular person that you can think of that we have not talked about, that when you look back, or when you look back at how my brother says life leaves clues, that made you know, oh, God had me covered the entire time?
I believe the prayers of my grandmother. Her name was Shamika Reynolds.
Please don't make me cry.
That's who it was. When I say covered, there was a man that's still in my life now. He does a lot of things for the funeral home. He's actually playing in my birthday party, my 50th birthday party. He came to me. He said, I had a dream about your grandmother. And I said, Mr. Brown, you don't know my grandmother. I said, how you dream about my grandmother? And so he said, he told me what she looked like. He explained my grandmother to the T. And you talking about scared? This man ain't never met my grandmother at all. Never seen a picture, anything. At this particular time, he had never seen I finally showed him a picture of my grandmother, but he said, whoever this lady is, that's the one that's covering you. Whoever that lady is. And I know it's your grandmother. And I said, I know it's her because you just explain what she looks like. And he said, that's who's covering you. This was before cancer.
Wow.
And so when you brought that question up, it automatically made me think of that conversation. Yeah.
It's crazy you said that. So I never wanted to work in ministry to this extent ever. I wanted to, and I say this all the time. If you ask our congregation, they'll say, oh, that's just a Georgia peach. I love living life. I love travel. I love worship. I love singing worship. I love serving others. But this role,
Wow.
but my granny died before we stepped, before we stepped into the role. And I lived with her my entire life because my mother was a caretaker. So I was like, I had two moms. And the first Sunday I stepped into the pulpit, I felt like she left me some shoes. And they were hers. And I felt like she said, go do it. And I just felt so empowered because I felt like I was able to do what I was able to do because of her present life.
Wow.
Because of her overcoming, because of her inner gifts and her knowledge with having not much education growing up, with her not knowing who her parents were, but being such a strong person and such a beautiful soul. And I just, like, the entire time I spoke for the first time in that role, I just felt like those shoes were there and I put them on.
Wow.
And 11 years later, here we are.
We are very similar. Very similar. Let me tell you why. So just like you're speaking about your grandmother, my grandmother and grandfather started this funeral home that I was telling you about that I work for now. Family business. This is my 9 to 5, just like everybody else. Um, they started the business in 1960. I was born in 1976. My mother, I told you, she was 16 years when she got pregnant. My mother was the first person at Lithonia High School to be pregnant at a young age.
Wow.
My mother was put out of school. She had to go to an alternative school because she was pregnant. The reason being is because they didn't want her walking around the school pregnant and being that person, you know, we don't want the rest of the kids to be pregnant like her. We're going to pull her out of that school. Okay. Long story short, of course, I'm not saying my mother did or didn't. I don't know. She never told me. But being 16 years of age and being the only person, first person pregnant in your school, I'm sure she wanted to abort, right? I'm sure she did.
Mm-hmm.
Never talked to her about it. I'm publicly talking about this with you.
Mm-hmm.
But my grandmother, that is the grandmother of the mother of my father, and I'm trying not to tear up. She, of course, had 2 boys at the time in high school. And to her, oh my God, I'm about to have my girl. She wasn't worried about nobody saying whatever at all about her. She took me in because I'm sure at that particular time, she probably didn't want her son to be birthing a child and he's in high school. Think about it now. Just think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So with you saying what you're saying, and my grandmother is still covering me, and I know she is to this day, we had that bond when I was in the womb. Definitely had that bond. My grandfather had always said, like, when I was running through the house and just paying attention what they was doing, because I spent a lot of time, and that's why I said I'm similar to you.
Mm-hmm.
My mother had to work. My mother worked at McDonald's. My father worked at a gas station at a very young age because they have a child. Well, they don't need to be doing nothing else but working, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they can feed me. So I had to stay with my grandmother every single day. My grandmother raised me around the funeral home. I didn't go to daycare because one day they put me in a daycare. A little girl put dirt in my hair. My grandmother came to the funeral, not to the funeral home, to the daycare, took me out that daycare. I've been at the funeral home ever since. Didn't go to a daycare at all. So I know all about hiding caskets and things of that nature. I know that's kind of crazy, but I grew up in a funeral home, right? So I've been around this lady all my life. Even though I had the love on my mother's side as well, they was hardworking entrepreneurs on that side.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather was a brick mason. He built like the nice houses, like where we are now, these real pretty houses, all brick. My granddaddy did all the subdivisions on the east side of town. So they were very well off family, but they had to work. But my grandmother, she was the one that was at home taking care of the children. So I stood by her all the time, and I looked at how she cared for people, how she did funerals for free, how she buried like loved ones that lost their baby. She did all that stuff for free. I'm still doing that to this day, and it's
Mm-hmm.
2025. So I know all about it.
Mm-hmm.
I know all about it.
And we don't
So
see
yeah,
that level of
yeah.
servitude. We
Oh
don't see
yeah.
that level of compassion.
Right.
And so we have to carry that light.
Yes.
And for that reason, when you said I feel like I'm a lot like my grandmother, my
Mm-hmm.
mom's the same way.
Mm-hmm.
We do carry it, and you don't want to lose it. We
Right.
just need to have
Right.
that perspective shift that we don't do it to our detriment,
Exactly.
or that it doesn't become excess baggage.
That's it.
Because it is ministry. And
Yes.
we are reminded that it's not just us. There are so many beautiful people left in the world who are willing to lend a helping hand at no cost.
Mm-hmm.
You know that there are those people
Yes.
left, but we've been called and chosen to be leaders
Right.
in that light.
Right.
As you were speaking, same as that thing. My mom was a public school. She was actually the first African American teacher hired in Gwinnett County
I
middle
remember.
school on the proclamation during segregation. But after being left to raise my brother and I, she not only worked for the county, which at that time, that's when Gwinnett, we didn't have Highway 78. We didn't have
Mhm.
any of that. So she had to drive so far to
Mhm.
go to work. We lived in Decatur City
Mhm.
at the time. And she would work, but she would leave work most days and go to what was part-time, but really was like a full-time job at
Wow.
church. So it
Yeah.
was always, for the most part,
Yeah.
my grandma. Thank God for grandmothers. Yeah,
Exactly.
thank
Thank
God for
God.
grandmothers, because
Yes.
it's not that mom did take care of us, and praise God for her education where she
Yes.
was able to, afford us a decent life. However, because of that, it took her away from us
Yeah.
so
A
much.
lot.
But
Yeah.
so much of the foundation did come
Yeah.
from that third grade
Mhm.
education,
Mhm.
but you would have never known because she was such a woman of
Mhm.
knowledge and poise and strength.
Awesome.
So
That's
I get
great.
it. And you're
Yeah.
right, a divine connection
Mhm.
here.
Right.
But as we get ready to close, let's talk about legacy and light. And
Okay.
as you continue leading and growing beyond this chapter of life, what do you hope, just from this small piece of your story today,
Okay.
what do you hope people will take? What would be the takeaway that you want them to have from your story today?
Strength. That's it. Strength.
Hmm. And without
That's
it,
it.
we won't. Absolutely.
Strength. That's all I
Absolutely.
want them to take away from it. Don't think, just because you don't have, that you can't do what you want to do in
Hmm.
life. It's
Hmm.
it's strength. That's all you need to
Yeah,
push and just push. Push
absolutely.
it through.
Because I'm looking at who you are today,
Mhm.
and you came from that teenage mother
Mhm.
who was ostracized
Mhm.
because of nothing.
Yes.
Okay, she got pregnant.
Yes.
Not the first, not the last.
Yes.
Definitely not today. It's just
Definitely
the
not the
opposite today.
last. Right.
It's just the opposite
Yeah.
today. But look at what was birthed.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm
That.
grateful.
Amen. Amen.
Grateful to be sitting here.
Well, we're looking forward to, for sure, hearing more from Mayor Reynolds
Okay.
in the future. And I want to thank you today that you came along,
Thank
because
you.
I told the staff here, I said, she'll be here shortly. She's coming with her security. So thank you for giving us the opportunity for some
Right.
raw,
Mhm.
uncut, unfiltered
Yes.
talk today. And, I always ask in sessions, can we talk? Because people need to hear our hearts
Right.
and not a script that's been written.
Exactly.
So thank you for your story. And it reminds us that leadership is never about being invincible. It's never about being invincible, but leadership is about being authentically
Right.
human. It's not by chance that God allowed you to come today
Yes.
alone, because you probably are able to just let your hair down and be
Right.
you. I'm not Mayor Reynolds. I'm not the owner of the Tri-Cities Funeral Home. I am a woman that's struggling and
Right.
striving like every other
Everybody
woman.
else. That's it.
And with the call on our lives, we just have to remember at the same time, we are human.
Yes.
And we have to remember in that humanness, because of where we came from as a people, we have to fight 10 times harder and
Very
have
much
10
so.
times more the strength that you're talking
Right.
about to walk it out in purpose and in destiny. So I thank you for
Thank you.
being here. And we all will begin to know that we have to trust God in the middle of the unknown.
Right.
And Shamika's story today helps us know that all it takes is strength.
Yes.
All it takes is strength. And we need to find the strength in surrendering it all to God, because He'll do the rest.
That's it.
So thank you again for tuning in to this episode of Legacy Talk 3N. Until next time.
Thank you.